Well, hello model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Ral, and I'm going to show you how I use Silly Putty to mask off certain areas on somewhat difficult surfaces to paint. So I picked up some fresh Silly Putty. I actually picked up 3 of them because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. This stuff actually goes a long way. So one of these is usually sufficient, but at the same time it can get dirty and pick up some stuff. This is my older one, and it's a little dirty. You can see there's a hair or 2 in there. Plus my son's gotten a hold of it and played with it. So it's pretty much time for me to replace it or not use it for models anymore. But a couple of things when it comes to painting or using this to mask off, it actually works fairly well. And because I have to redo my 60 Corvette, I used it on the sides here to mask the coves off, and it worked really well. But I didn't show you guys that on film, and because I have to redo this one, I'm going to do that same step and I'll show you all that. So since I got my paint, and as you can see I've already sprayed the white here in the coves, and I let the overspray go because this is going to be the darker color and it's a green, so having the white overspray here is not a big deal for this one. And you know, if you really want to make it pop, I could just spray the whole thing white, but I wasn't going to do that. And I did this same thing on the last one. I took a photo or 2 and posted them in there of the progress on that one. But since I'm redoing it, I'm going to do it again to this one. And the same thing with this. This is the chassis for the 65 Satellite AFX car. And the floor is actually interior color. So I shot it flat red. And I'm going to mask it off also, and then paint the engine compartment and the entire chassis white. So I don't want any overspray in here. And you can mask this off, but getting the masking tape in the corners and everything can be kind of difficult, and a lot of times overspray gets under there. And I've done that, and you can go back and touch it up or brush paint it. That's up to you, but I found that this works very well on chassis, and even if you're trying to mask off certain areas, use that to mask it off and then airbrush that area. And I've had it work pretty well for that too. So I'm going to get started here. So I'm not going to use my old one. I'll open up a brand new one here. And this is just regular Silly Putty. And I went to the store. They didn't have regular. They had metallic. I have not had this be an issue before with it. It's just what it's made out of. And then once you get this stuff down, it sticks pretty well. Here we go. See, it's just got the metallic flakes in it and just looks, but you can squish it around, move it around, get the bubbles out of it. Use as little or as much as you need. And then another thing that's kind of neat with this, paint doesn't stick to this very well, but it'll stick to the car, so you peel it off and there's no residue. So it's worked out really well for me. And then to clean this off, I'll show you at the end. When I'm peeling this off, I put some masking tape on it and pull it off, and it pulls the painted sections off, and you're back to your regular Silly Putty. And you can use as much as you need or as little as you need, just to break it and get what you need. And this might even still be too much. Let me break it, get a little bit more or a little bit less. That's going to string on me. Here we go. Let's there we are. So let's start applying it, and it goes really easy, especially when you got contours like this. You just squish it right in there and then move it around and string it out. Just work it where you need to go. And I've used toothpicks and popsicle sticks to move it and get it to where you want it, where you don't want it. It's real easy to manipulate. See, even this is a bit too much. So we'll pull it out a little bit more. Get some of it off here. Alright, here we go. So start smearing it around. Not really smearing it, just pushing it. and it'll easily curl up on you. But once you get it where you want it, it pretty much will stay there. Okay, this side's looking good, so let me just push it over, flatten it out, mush it up here, get it to start curling around the inside of the fender. Push it up into the molding. All right. And take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Just push it, move it till you got it where you want it. And then just take a quick look at it, make sure it didn't lift up on one of the areas, because sometimes when you're pushing one side it'll lift up on the other and curl. So like I said, it doesn't stick. It sticks, but it doesn't stick. But the better you get it laid in where you want it, the better the paint seal is going to be. So there we go. So you see my fingerprints, and then some of the white overspray sticking to it, so you can see that there's my white fingerprints because I'm using a base coat here. This is Scale Finishes paint I'm putting it right on top of. Okay, so there's one side done. You see how I curled it over on the inside? The inside of this is going to be all blacked out, so I'm not really concerned about it. But in the wheel well, you'll see the green paint and the white paint, and then the chrome when it curls into it. So I want to make sure I keep it there and not have any pulled in there. So we'll keep going on this. Push this down. Okay, that's pretty much that one. And then I've got a huge chunk here. So there's still plenty, and you can do this in sections too. So when it comes to this one, you can flatten it out and spread it out as much as you can, thin it out. Just like that, and kind of work little areas and just cover the areas you want. And another thing that's great about this stuff is any of the holes that you would have that paint would come through, it fills those in too. So you can take your time, push it all in there, and get it taken care of that way. And just keep doing it in little sections. It can still be a little time consuming, but not really when it comes to doing this compared to masking. But it comes out really nice. Now it wants to snap. So we'll continue this, but you get the idea, and I'll do little sections and I'll smear it all around, get it all spread out here. and I'll show you how that comes out. So you're not watching me do tons of this at the moment. A couple other things while you're working this stuff and you're spreading it out. If you wanna, you can even work it like you would dough. Take a pen, flatten it out. Kind of spread it out if you need it to be thin. To give you an idea. And you can also take your X-Acto knife, just cut it. Make a little sheet, whatever you need. Fill in a little area. So it's kind of funny how it works and what it will do, and just keep working it. But yeah, you can, if you need little sections or strips, you can just take your razor blade, cut it and do it that way as well. Just to keep going on it. If you got like a little small section, and even when you lay it down, you can use this to cut it. Like if you're doing a little area, you can use your X-Acto knife and cut it out and pull it off that way as well. Not just spread it with your fingers and mush it in there like I'm doing here. So you can work it many different ways. And as you get used to using it, you get an idea of how it works and what you can do and what you can't do. But I find it keeps surprising me every time I use it or try something. It works out really well. So I'm going to keep working on this one. Okay, well, I got a layer on here, so it's all on there, and I broke open a second one, so I used most of a second one, which is why it's kind of thick. Did it on purpose. But with this stuff, let it sit for a little bit, let it relax, because if it's going to lift, this is when it's going to do it. So let it relax and see what happens, and then you can fine tune and twist it at that point, and then spray it, which I'm going to go out there and spray this one, all the white and everything. So I'm not going to spray it on camera here, but I'll go ahead and spray it, and then we'll let it dry, and then I'll end up peeling this off tomorrow and showing you the rest. So once it's sprayed, I'm going to give it 24 hours and I'll show you the rest. So I'm going to spray this, and then also the Corvette, got both sides done. So, and I'm going to start with the white, spray the white first, and then I'll spray the green. So I'm going to go ahead and paint these like I would normally, but just looking very carefully at all the edges, making sure it didn't lift anywhere. And I'll check it one more time before I actually spray it. And then here, having the lights on, it really helps. You can kind of see if there's any gaps or anywhere where it's going to lift. And you push it down, and the fingerprints will dull it, but it will relax and smooth itself back out and get shiny again. And then there's a small little spot right there where it developed a bubble. So that's kind of what you're looking for. Just push that in there and get those taken care of. And there we go. So I'll get these sprayed, and then I'll continue on and show you the results. Alright, just got finished spraying this one so you can see what it looks like when you do that. So here she is. I also did the chassis, but that's in the garage drying. Gonna let that dry for a day or so and I'll pull it off. This one I just finished spraying, so I'm gonna let this one dry before I pull anything off. But since this one is on the stand, I can show it to you right now, where the other one really not in a position where I could show you that one very easily. But there it is, all masked up and sprayed. So I'm going to go let this thing sit and dry. And it's not going to sit here in my hobby room. It's going to sit in my garage, of course. But I'm just showing you what it looks like after spraying it. And we'll let it dry and we'll see what happens. Well, here it is. It's all painted. Like I showed you, it's dried. It's ready to peel off. So we'll pull this off and we'll see how she went. And I got this done as well, so you can see the overspray. Now I had it resting on a paint can to dry, so that's what kind of did all that. But let's start with this one. This one will be the easiest one to pull off. There we go. Parts of this just doesn't want to let go for some reason. There it goes. Alright, and to clean the paint off of it, we take some of the tape here. This is what I do. And then you can just push it right on there and then pull it right off. You can see it's pulling it right off of here. Some areas not letting go. And then once it sticks to the tape, you got to start with another piece of tape. So it's definitely not saving you from using tape. Sometimes you get all of it, sometimes you don't. But there we go. So there's that. And you can see how cleanly, here's a small piece of putty, there we go. And you can always just dab this to pick up a little piece of remnants off of it. But there it is. There's no overspray in it at all. You can see the overspray there. But all of this is hidden by a piece, so you won't see any of that. And I'll probably end up doing it again when I clear coat all of this. Which I may or may not clear coat this. This is actually pretty shiny. The body will get clear coated, but now the next piece is we'll do the Corvette. And these come off really easy. Just usually, this one's being a little bit more difficult than it usually is. There we go. And we'll get a piece of tape because the paint is flaking off. So see the paint come right off of there. There we go. So I use the Silly Putty to pull the Silly Putty off. Kind of funny. And there's still a small spot right there. There we go. Got that out. So there's the results. There's a piece of foil that's going to go here. Highlight the chrome. But I still got to do this side. I'm going to try something a little different. Let's see what happens if I take the tape and stick it right on there and see if I can pull the paint right off of the Silly Putty before I start pulling the Silly Putty off. Kind of taking a gamble here, but I was using the tape to pull the pieces off that flaked off and went to the car, but since it's dry it shouldn't stick to the white paint below. Alright, so let's peel this off. See, it's really stuck in a cove, which is one of the reasons why it's not pulling off very easily. There it goes. That one came off much easier. And then you see there's still some flakes of paint here, but I can use the tape to grab those as well. And there she is. So this body's done. Just pretty much ready for clear. I'll just wash it and clean a few things up. There aren't any decals that I add at this point because I'll foil those and I'll put the decals on top of them. There's a small amount still here. Just looking it over carefully. There we go. That takes care of all that. And then the last thing I do is just put the Silly Putty back in the containers. I like to have them in a Ziploc bag when I'm storing them for a while. There's a piece that I didn't use. And I'll leave that in that one, because that one's fresh. And this has been used one time, because sometimes the paint does stay. You don't get all of it off. And then also you get hair and lint and dirt in there. So we'll try and get some more of this off. Yeah, there we go. The heavier the paint is on the Silly Putty, the easier it is to actually get off. It's kind of funny like that, but like you see, there are the really light dusting areas. The paint doesn't want to come off yet. But we'll put that in there and store it for the next time I need it. Which who knows how long that'll be. Hopefully I don't mess up any of these paint jobs or mess up any paint jobs again, but that's part of the course and part of learning and just dealing with it. So that'll conclude this one, and I hope that helps. It's pretty easy to use, and when you got pretty complex curves and stuff, it works out really well, especially for stuff like this. But thanks for tuning in and subscribing and all your comments. I really appreciate it. And you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next Saturday.